I'm Jocelyn Rios from Funimation, and this is One Piece at a Time. I'm your host and a social media producer. And in celebration of the One Piece anime's 20th anniversary, I'm watching the show for the first time, and every week, a seasoned fan rewatching the series will join me in exploring each episode following the Eneru binge guide. So come on board on this adventure starting right now. I want to introduce you to our co-host for this week's podcast episode, Associate Brand Manager MJ Takahashi. Welcome, MJ.
Thank you. Hi, I'm MJ, an Associate Brand Manager here at Funimation.
So tell us a little about yourself, like your experience with One Piece.
As a fan, I started watching One Piece a long time ago, like over 10 years ago, I think, when I was in middle school. And then I started working here at Funimation about 2 years ago, and then on One Piece last year.
How was that, like getting to work on One Piece after being a fan for so long?
So it was exciting since I love One Piece and I know a lot about it. Mm-hmm. But then also I was like, okay, in a professional setting, how do I use this love and my passion and my knowledge for it to help promote the brand? I have to, of course, always be mindful of personal and then business interests. Yeah.
That's awesome. So for the last podcast episode, which was episode 22, we went through episodes 168 through 175. So the crew is looking for treasure while there's a battle going on in the upper yard. Like clearly they have a goal and it's just the treasure. But we do get to see like this fight between the Shandora people and the priests and divine warriors.
I think they're called divine soldiers.
Divine soldiers.
At least in the Japanese sub. So I watched sub.
Yeah, I watched dub. So that's going to be interesting.
It
like
will.
the comparisons between the sub and the dub. That's cool. Chopper won a battle all by himself for the first time. We were so proud. And Robin is exploring Velocity. She's like away from the group for now. And Luffy's lost in this mysterious cave. And Zoro is about to fight a bunch of people. Yeah. He's going to fight He's going to fight Wiper, Holy, and the snake. Everybody's
Gunfall.
Gunfall is the other one.
Fighting,
it's like fight.
But
yeah.
He's there.
Yeah. And now on this episode, which is episode 23, we're going to go through episodes 176 through 183. So let's begin. Episode 176. Climb Giant Jack. Deadly combat in the upper ruins. We begin right where we left off. There's a showdown that's going to happen. Zoro versus Wiper, I guess, versus the snake that keeps bugging everybody.
There's a lot of people involved here. There's there's Gunfall, Wiper, and everyone.
And at this point, I realized that Luffy has been inside this cave for so long.
Yeah.
But he's actually inside the snake.
Yeah. So actually, I don't know at what point people realize he's actually not in a cave because he still thinks he's in a cave. He's like, where am I? I'm in this cave. I can't get out. Technically, it hasn't been confirmed, I think.
Yeah, technically, we don't know. But they keep giving us like small hints
like
that
you
he's
noticed
in there.
it, right?
Yeah. This time, I noticed it because he kept punching the snake and then the snake like kept like falling towards where he was punching it, and I was like, oh, please don't tell me that Luffy is inside that snake.
That's smart.
But then when I thought about it, I was like, of course, like they've been giving us these hints for a while now. I just didn't catch it.
It was so interesting. So we get introduced to who's, I think he calls himself a sky breeder.
Yes.
So he trains dogs, and then at least in the sub, it says, my animal training goes beyond ordinary training. I hammered bipedal walking and then even boxing into him. And I'm like, how and why?
Right. Can I teach my dog boxing?
And Zoro, like, at that moment, he's like, there's always, I think it was Zoro, who's like, there's always an exception to take, like, when you take something too far.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, did you have to teach your dog how to box?
I guess if you want him to fight people.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, defense or attacking.
So now Zoro has to fight this giant dog who stands up on two legs and boxes, basically.
And like, meanwhile, obviously it's not just Holy because Wiper is trying to attack Zoro. And then Gunfall is there too, who doesn't want to fight, but then Wiper's angry at Gunfall, I think, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, historically.
And then Nami and Aiza reach Giant Jack. They've been running away.
Yeah, they've been away. Yeah, from the divine soldiers, right?
Divine soldiers who look like sheep, right?
Yeah.
Or goats. I'm not sure what animal they look like. Yeah. So they get there. Meanwhile, Zoro finds Chopper, who's knocked out. Poor Chopper.
Yeah, so I know they see the Great Jack in the distance, and then we like switch over to Zoro, and I'm like, I mean, Zoro's like, oh, Chopper, and I'm like, no, Chopper, because like he's on the ground, he looks so beaten up, he's like lifeless. Yeah, and then he like, I think this is when Om is like, you want revenge for Chopper? And then Zoro's like, well, I don't fight for revenge, but this does fire me up to like fight you.
Zoro's always playing it so cool.
Yeah, he is cool. Definitely one of my favorite characters.
Yeah? Who's your ultimate favorite?
I can't choose. I mean, the Straw Hats are all great.
Well, we do, or I do a ranking, right? And the ranking changes constantly depending on what's happening. So would you say that where we are right now, who would be your favorite?
Yeah, Zoro.
Zoro, okay. I think my last ranking was Chopper and then Zoro, but it was because Chopper just had beaten up that priest. So it was like, he was the MVP to me.
Well, what about now for you?
Well, Chopper's knocked out, but I think he still deserves to be the MVP in my heart because, yeah, he tried so hard.
He did try. And he's like, you know, I felt so sad when I saw him. I was like, oh. We do like a scene change again where we see Konis.
I love this part. Was hilarious to me.
Yeah, so they reach the Mary, and Konis and her father and Sue, the little fox creature. They're like, okay, we got to protect the ship. And then, so while protecting this ship and they're like trying to stay guard, they like play the horn.
Yeah, they start playing the horn, which is super loud, and it's doing like this. I don't even remember what the song was, but
there was a tune, right?
Yeah, but it had a tune, very loud, very annoying. Connie's father says that it is to drive away anybody who could be thinking about
in a way
about coming.
Yeah, but I was like, doesn't that attract people to you? They're like, oh, there's.
I mean, they're hiding.
Prey.
Right?
There's prey. We can go. Yeah, right.
Like if you're hiding, right? You're announcing where you are.
I can see where it works for like, I guess, wild creatures. Sometimes like I hear if you're walking in the
loud
forest,
noises.
yeah, they don't approach you.
Well, maybe,
but that's different.
Yeah, that's definitely different.
I think.
And then when he tells Connis, I thought that she was going to be like, no, Dad, like, let's not do that. But instead, she's like, yeah, let them hear our resolve. And I'm like, Connis, no.
I mean, and surprisingly, no one comes.
No one comes. I was so surprised. I was like, I bet some goat men are going to come now and find you. Yeah, take that ship away from you because you're dumb.
Yeah. I can see where they're coming from, but it's a silly idea. I think when I did watch it, I did believe people were going to come attack them.
Yeah.
Again.
That's what I thought was going to happen. I was like, oh, no. You messed up, and now somebody's going to have to come save you.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen.
It didn't.
Which was a good thing, I guess.
I was actually pretty peaceful for a while there. Mm-hmm. And they're just watching over Usopp and Sanji, I think.
Yeah.
They're badly
injured.
Yeah. They're very, very badly injured.
Mm-hmm. From Eneru's last visit to the ship.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So after Connis and her father, we go back to the fighting of Ganfall versus Wiper versus Holly versus Zoro versus the snake.
Yep.
And while they're fighting, we go back to Luffy, right?
We had this short scene with Luffy where he's like stuck in this cave, and they're like, oh, I'll just dig a hole. And he takes this huge rock and tries to dig a hole in the wall. But of course, we know it's the snake. And then the snake starts laughing.
Yeah,
right?
it starts laughing.
I'm like, why is it
Which
funny?
is very weird because snakes don't laugh.
And also, I'm like, is it painful or is it ticklish?
Probably ticklish.
Amidst all of this fighting, of course. Mm-hmm. So everyone's still fighting. The Shandian. We kind of like talked about this, but it will be interesting to see the differences between the subs I see. Since I, again, watched in I can actually understand Japanese. I watch in subtitles.
That is
great. And then Jocelyn in the dub.
Yes, I watched the dub. I mean, I enjoy subs too on some shows, but I prefer One Piece dubbed. I mean, it's great. Both. I think both are great.
Yeah, I watched both, but I've watched everything in Japanese, and I've watched only a certain episodes in dub.
Got it.
I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to pick from.
In the sub, it's I think it's Shandians.
Yes. And then in the dub, they're called Shandorians, which is interesting.
It is interesting. Because it's Shandora. Shandorians, I can see that.
Yeah, exactly. The land they come from is Shandora.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Maybe it just makes sense in English better that way, and that's why they changed it.
I'm gonna look back at the subtitles. So Luffy's stuck in the snake. He's still trying to get out of the cave. And that's when, like, Nami finally shoots out of the clouds with Isa. Of course, amidst all the fighting that's still happening with Zoro, Gunpowder, Wiper, and is that an Ohm, right?
I love it how you get like all the Japanese pronunciations. Super cool. So yeah, they arrive. Wiper sort of loses it.
Yeah, he's like, why are you there, Isa? Because Isa, I mean, obviously he wants her in a safe place, like away from here.
Yes, little girl.
Yeah, and then and there's also fighting. And then
he shoots at Nami. He's like, get away from there, Isa, but then immediately shoots the cannon, which I think it's a little stupid, honestly.
Yeah, it could hurt her.
It could have hurt her, definitely. So, but Ganfall saves both of them. He jumps in with Pierre and grabs both of the girls. But as he's escaping, then the snake comes in and eats all of them. And then Zoro and Wiper are just in shock. They're like, what?
Actually, I think Zoro was like, why Nami? Why did she get swallowed up by the snake? I think he called her an idiot. He was like...
Probably. I feel like Zoro calls a lot of people idiots a lot.
Yeah, and then so once they got swallowed up or eaten, Holy and Ohm attack. Holy, of course, the dog that can box.
The boxing dog on two legs.
Yeah. And then they attack, and then Zoro and Wiper fall to the ground because of the attack. Like, and I think they're bleeding.
Yeah.
Right? And they're just like down. They're knocked out.
Yeah, they get knocked out. And yeah, we see Ganfall and all of those people just falling down
the dark tunnel.
Into the cave.
Yeah, and we're like, no. So we're like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Zoro and Wiper have been like knocked out, and then also Nami is eaten by
the snake.
So episode 177, The Ordeal of Iron, White Barb Death Match.
Ooh.
Yeah. The Ordeal of Iron. So we start with, I think, Zoro and Wiper on the ground, and there's like blood from like their head face areas.
It looks pretty bad.
It does. I was like, oh no, are they gonna get up? And so this is when they start counting, right?
Yes. Ohm starts keeping count because this Ohm person, he's very like straightforward, very buttoned up. Like he's all about God's prophecies and following God's mandates. And, you know, he always is talking about people being like, I don't know if he actually uses the word sinners, but he is constantly trying to make people repent through his ordeal. He reminds me of religious fanatics a lot.
I mean, the whole like arc with Skypiea, there's like the whole religious aspect with, I mean, obviously God and then the prophets and the divine soldiers and...
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of different levels of fanatism portrayed in this arc. And Ohm is pretty up there.
Yeah, so they start counting. I think I wrote down in my notes 10 people and 2 creatures. Or, right? Currently, that's the count?
Yeah, that's the count. Yeah. And he is very adamant in trying to help make Eneru's prophecy come true, where he said that only 5 people would survive the ordeal.
I actually, in this, yes, so they're like, it's like who's gonna survive and who's gonna be the 5. So at this point in this fight, there's Zoro, Wiper, I mean, they're on the ground, and then Ohm, Holy, and I think the Shandorians, right? And also the divine soldiers that have joined the fight.
Yes. And who's the second creature? The snake, I guess?
Yes, the great snake, yep. So... I mean, he calls the one blue sea person, which is Zoro, and then the giant snake, and obviously Holy. And so the Shandorians are fighting Ohm and Holy. I'm going to say Shandorians, even though I have Shandians.
I mean, you can say
notes.
Shandians. Both are accepted.
I think they are both accepted. We know what we're talking about. And they're punching around, but then the Iron Ordeal
Yeah.
So the barbed wires.
That Holy makes.
Yeah.
I found it so hilarious because it reminded me of like those motocross domes that are just like fenced. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like those domes where they do like the tricks, the motocross tricks.
I don't watch motocross.
Okay. So this is a thing that happens in a lot of like futuristic movies where, you know, there's people fighting in a cage and it's like this round cage made out of
no
fence.
idea.
You have no idea. I'm gonna show you a picture.
Show me later. But from what you're describing, it sounds like that, right? It's
That's
so
exactly what it
interesting.
looks like to me.
Really? Okay, yeah, show me. But like, so and the other funny thing with this dome is like how it even gets set up, because I think Om is like, I think he tells Holy to dash.
Yeah. When he's
like, and that dash is when like Holy starts like running around
and sort of building this fence.
Yeah. And that's when
true.
like all these like barbed wire ironclad comes up and then creates that dome.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But I was just like, Holy, these tricks, you know.
Yes, I feel like I need to train my dog better after seeing all these episodes with Holly.
I mean, we can try. And then so like they're all fighting in this dome. Zoro gets up. I forget why, but they got up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Zoro's like, oh no, I have to like save Nami, who's been swallowed by the snake. Yeah. Meanwhile, I think, do we see Lucky?
Lucky's on the way to find Wiper because she wants to give him a Kamakiri's warning about Eneru, which is basically that he is made out of lightning. He's pure lightning.
Yeah. We also see a flashback, I think, of her and Wiper and being like, why? It's like a reminder of like, why are they fighting?
Yeah.
And it's like for their homeland, which we'll talk about later. But like the homeland thing is also interesting. The whole like paradise, the land we want to go to, or like similar feeling. It's not exactly, but.
And then they explain a little bit of the history of how Shindora actually got to the sky.
Yes, like supposedly 400 years ago, Shindora was blown up by Knock Upstream into Skypiea, and then they were driven off that land.
We were mentioning on the last podcast episode how this is very parallel, like a very good comparison of colonialism. Because the Shindorians
like
have like
people.
and they have when in the last podcast episode we went through an episode where we actually go to their village and we see that they have a lot of like native symbols, like they have totems and they have tippies.
I see. So lots of reference.
So that's a very interesting take. Oda always surprises me with all these parallels to the real world that he just drops into his stories.
Yeah. I like seeing like how our world connects to the fictional One Piece world.
Yeah, definitely. So then we see that their mission is basically taking back their homeland. And
then so she finally gets to Wiper to give him the warning, and Eneru appears.
Yes.
And then
she shoots him.
Shoots him twice, I think. And there's like holes in Eneru. But then he's like unaffected.
Yeah. I mean, she should have known, right? I mean, she just came with literally the information. Saying that you cannot kill him.
It's like she has to try. What else is she going to do?
That's
just
true.
Be like, stand there?
Yeah, that's true.
So Eneru attacks Lucky. And then also Zoro, I mean, with this appearance, Zoro is like, finally sees Eneru, I think, for the first time. He's like, that's God? That's the God that you guys are talking about?
Yeah. He seems very unimpressed.
I mean, Zoro. And then, of course, meanwhile, while this is happening, I think Eneru stays outside the dome. And then the fighting is still happening.
Yes. and then he leaves, right? Right after he kills Lucky.
And then we'll see him later on with Robin. But at this point, I think he's just no longer involved. And we have Zoro and Wiper still like fighting, and Zoro and Wiper trying to go after the snake, but obviously Om and the divine soldiers are attacking them at the same time.
Yeah.
So Zoro's like, need to save Nami, but I can't because all these people are in my way.
Yeah. I didn't I was glad to see that Zoro cares about Nami. Yeah.
She is part of the crew.
Yeah,
They are
that's true.
nakama.
That's true. I was like, huh. I don't know why. I feel, you know, Zoro's always looking after Luffy or after Chopper. But yeah, he cares about Nami too.
Yeah, I think he cares about also Gunfall. Like, he calls him, what was it, the Sky Knight?
Yeah.
But he was like, I need to save the guy who saved Chopper.
Yeah. Which is a nice thing to do. I mean, he did definitely save Chopper.
Then, like, we see them fighting, and of course we have this, like, scene shot, like, change into inside the snake. And so
this
we
part
see...
is great.
Yeah, okay. This is actually, I think, my favorite part in this episode. Nami, Gunfall, Isa, and Pierre are, like... alas, now inside the snake. And
Yes.
like you see like an acid drop and then you see it burning away some piece of cloth or whatever. They're like, okay, we're in here. And then Gunfall is like, okay, should we like make a hole or something? And then Nami's like, no, obviously not. We don't want to irritate the snake.
Yeah. And there's acid on the
Yeah.
wall, so you can't just,
And
you
then
know.
yeah, and Nami's like, that's not a smart idea.
Definitely not a smart
And
idea.
then while like that's happening, they're talking about this, you hear someone walking over, right?
And they're
like,
super scared.
they're like, yeah, they're like, oh no, do you hear that? And dun 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 appears
It's Luffy. And he's crying.
Yeah, he has tears coming up. He's like, what? I mean, because he's been lost for so long in this cave.
Yeah.
And he's like so happy. And he's like, oh, why are you guys here? And Nami's like, oh, you got swallowed up by the snake too? And Luffy's confused. He's like,
Yeah.
a snake? And then Nami's like, yeah, you know, because
He doesn't
that's
get
why
it.
we're here. And then, yeah, he doesn't. Luffy's like, oh, I see. You got swallowed by a snake. And then Nami's like, we did, and you did too. That's why
That's
you're
where we
here.
are. Yeah, he just definitely doesn't get
And then
it.
like Nami's like frustrated, so she pulls on Luffy's nose and it like stretches out like
Yeah.
Usopp. And then of course we have Luffy doing an impression of Usopp. He's like, I'm Usopp.
Oh my
And then
God.
Isa's like, who is this? And Nami's like, unfortunately, he's my captain.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. I forget how exactly, but Luffy realizes, he's like, oh, wait, no, what? I'm in a snake? And then he starts freaking out.
Yeah.
And then Isa's like, that took you a bit. And then he's like, okay, if we're in the snake, we have to get out the butthole. And then Nami's like, no, I'm
No.
never gonna leave out of the butthole.
Yes, I would have let that snake digest me too.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Like, if that was my option, I'd be like, no, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll just stay here.
Okay, so well, okay, if there were no other options, I would be fine. It's just biological, processes. I don't know what the anatomy of the snake looks like. So obviously just
I mean, it's just, I'm thinking it's pretty straightforward.
I'm probably thinking too much about it.
Like one end
Well, it
and
could
one
go-
beginning and one end.
It could, yes, eventually. But I mean, we should already be questioning the anatomy of the snake when we like from what we see from inside, right? Mm-hmm. With all the ruins, and I'm just like, how does this organ, like, how does his insides work?
I mean, how does anything in One Piece work?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I wonder. Maybe I've seen some images. I feel like of like insides of One Piece creatures.
Yeah.
I feel maybe.
Oh, that's interesting.
I wonder if I can find
Like
it.
a biology guide.
Well, I've seen a lot of anime, so I wonder if it was for a different anime, but it would be. I think there was. I'm gonna look into it. But yeah, so they're stuck in there and they're like trying to figure a way out. I'm glad Luffy found nakama to be in the cave.
Oh my
with.
God, he would have never left the snake if these guys.
He would have, out of pure
You
luck.
think so?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's how Luffy
Yeah.
works. I guess.
Sometimes he's very like intuitively clever. I love Luffy. Everyone, I love Luffy. I should mention this earlier, but so in that discussion, Nami, like, there's this thing where it's like they're discussing how do we get out, and then eventually Nami concludes, "Wait a second. Were you the reason why the snake was like going crazy and attacking?" And he was like, "Oh, maybe." Well, I was trying to get out, and then Nami is like, "You are the reason why the snake was in a bad mood."
Episode 178, Bursting Slash, Zoro versus Om. When this episode begins, Wiper is just trying to blast the snake with his...
Yep, with the, I know it, the burn bazooka?
And I'm like, I thought there were limited chances that you had to fire this thing and you're just trying to blast the snake. But it doesn't do anything to it.
Yeah, no, I think there's the reject dial. That's the one he has limited. But the bazooka is just like a bazooka.
Got it.
Yeah, so he's shooting at the snake, but then Zoro's like dodging all this like rubble that's falling on him because of that fighting.
Yeah.
While fighting Om. When Wiper was shooting at the Great Snake, it's like one shot and it's like, oh, it didn't work, and he just keeps shooting it. I was like, yeah, okay, that's smart. I get, just keep shooting it, the brute force if it doesn't work one time.
Yeah, right. Like, do you think it's cumulative or
I don't know. Maybe it is. Like, maybe if you keep shooting in one place, it'll eventually affect, like, knockouts. I have no idea. But at first I was like, when I was rewatching this, I was like, why did he keep shooting when it didn't work clearly the first time? But Zoro wants to get to a giant great snake but can't, and he's fighting Om, who has this extendable sword, right?
Yeah.
Because it's made of iron clouds, which like changes shape, and yet it's strong like
it's
iron.
Super strong. That's a pretty cool weapon.
It could be a whip. It can be anything.
Yeah, exactly.
He wants to make
he
it.
turns it into
Several different things.
Uh-huh.
Like while fighting, Zoro's actually struggling. Om just seems to know where he is, and Zoro's like, why does he know where I am?
Yeah, Zoro doesn't know about mantra.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he does Hawk Wave, and then Om does like Ice and Wave. And he has all these, like as we mentioned, Ice and Fan, Ice and Fork, all these different moves, and then Zoro like does the 36 caliber Phoenix, and he's all these moves in this fight between Zoro and Om. Yeah. And then Zoro's still like, why is it that Om knows where I am? And then I think at one point Om says, I know where you are even if you can't see me because of mantra. And then because he's struggling and Zoro starts to get serious. He's like, okay, I'm gonna get serious now.
I'm gonna get serious. He puts on the bandana. That's how you know that Zoro got
He drops
serious.
the goggles.
Yeah.
Puts on his bandana.
Like, these goggles don't do nothing.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, Zoro! Bandana! Okay, so while Zoro and Om is fighting, Shandians versus Holy. Holy just kicks their butts.
It's a giant dog. Of course it's gonna kick people's butts. He's like, if I was a giant dog, I would just be like kicking everybody.
And
not
he
even
knows
the
how
boxing.
to box. Well, you don't even have to know fighting style.
Yeah,
you can just kick them.
Yeah, he does. Super well trained dog.
True. And so Holy's beating up Shandians, and then Zoro is still struggling. He has his bandana on it, but finally, because he's serious and he has his bandana on, he does the 3 sword style. I have 108 caliber.
Yes, because he starts. Well, at least he starts like adding up in his mind. He's like, well, if
I have
36.
I wrote it down.
You wrote it down? Oh my god, that's great.
I think
then,
had. So
go
the
on.
past held 36 worldly desires, 72 present worldly desires, and then 108 future.
Wow.
And then somehow it goes up to 108 caliber Phoenix.
How specific.
Yeah. And then finally, Om goes down.
Yes.
But rewatching this, I was like, okay, I know it was a struggle, but at the same time, I was like, Om went down already with that move? But
he just figured it out. He figured it out.
I mean, okay.
I was like, yeah. I mean, he was supposed to be super tough with his magic sword.
Yeah, ironclad sword.
Yeah. But I mean, I wasn't surprised that Zoro figured it out. I mean, Zoro beat Mr. One with, pretty...
That's true.
He did take a whole episode, though, to beat Mr. One. And this wasn't the case.
Well, okay, I guess it was over several episodes. Yeah. But at the same time, I was like, oh, wait, one attack and it's done? Whatever. Zoro is strong. Okay, Zoro is
strong. Why are you doubting Zoro, MJ?
I'm sorry. I don't doubt Zoro. I just want there to be more struggle before you achieve anything. And then, hooray, Om is down. But then, no, he's still falling. Obviously, the snake is moving around a lot. And so they keep falling so not the people in the snake are falling, and they're like, oh, and then one instance they fall, and then Luffy gets up and he's like, oh, and then he looks around to see where the others are, if they're safe, and then he sees Nami.
And it's a skeleton.
Yeah, it's a skeleton. He's like, he freaks out. So he sees a skeleton who, no, it was wearing different clothes.
It was wearing different clothes.
Maybe it
had a white shirt.
like Nami's past clothes. Like there was I think it was yellowish.
Yeah, it was a yellow shirt. But I mean,
But anyhow, Luffy's like, it's Nami. I was like, why would you think that? But he immediately goes, are you okay? And I'm like, it's a skeleton, Luffy.
It is a skeleton.
If it's a skeleton, Nami's no longer okay.
But I mean, the skeleton is wearing more clothes than Nami is at this point. So I can see how that works.
But
yeah, Nami's wearing this bikini top
you're
with
right.
with
I don't know why I forgot that.
I don't know why. And then you can see that she has a lot of scrapes. And I'm like, of course, because you're wearing a bikini top to go adventuring in the forest. You're adventuring, girl. You need at least a t-shirt.
In a way, they were wearing almost like slightly tropical-y clothes.
True.
Maybe.
But my girl
like
Robin
Sanji
has
was wearing a shirt.
Nice shirt.
And he wasn't wearing a suit anymore.
No, he wasn't.
So maybe that. Maybe it's hot.
She got too tropical, I think, for adventuring.
Well, anyhow, Luffy's like, why are you dead? Or like, are you okay? The skeleton, I'm clearly like, no, it's a skeleton. The skeleton will be interesting in the future.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm like, skeleton, it's a skeleton. It's dead. But then like Nami's like, that's obviously not me.
I think she punches him too.
Yeah. And this is actually one of the instances where Isa like confronts Gunfall.
Oh my god, that little girl.
Yeah, so
she got tough really quickly.
Yeah. So I think she took his lance as like threatening Gunfall because I understand like historically, their people have been trying to get back their land for so long, and
colonizers.
Well, yeah, basically colonizers, but the Skypians, and so they have a major grudge against them.
Yeah, but I didn't think she was gonna be like. She took a stance. She was like, "Nah, I'm gonna take his head," and I'm like, "Little girl."
I can understand her anger. Yeah, like they're people for 400 years. That's a long time.
Yeah,
400 years. And so Gunfall does acknowledge like we can't apologize. He acknowledges that his ancestors, the Skypians ancestors, took their land, but he's like, I don't know like how to apologize for all those years of suffering
or make up for it, which is very interesting. Like reparations are very difficult.
Yeah, because even if you apologize, what about all the past things that had happened? Exactly. How do you make up for that? And then Isa's struggling. So Isa's like, I can't forgive you. I can't live with bad guys. And then Nami's like, they're not bad guys. And then the bad thing actually is like the inability, the heart that he refuses to live with other races or other people. And I was like, yes, Nami.
Yeah, Nami dropped some knowledge right there. Like, it is true. Like, none of these people are inherently bad. What's bad is that they can't coexist because they're different.
Yeah, I actually like how it was worded in Japanese. It says, it was kobamu kokoro. And then kobamu, it's almost like shrinks away from. So it's like, it's a heart that refuses or shrinks from coexisting with another people.
Heart?
Yeah, the heart. Kokoro is heart. Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
even
like,
deeper.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when she hears that, Isa, I think, gets it because it looks like she's struggling. Like she's crying and she gets it, but she's like still like angry, and then so she does continue striking. And she goes for it. Yeah,
like, she goes for it. And I was like, I was super surprised.
But then Luffy steps in, and is like he grabs Lance, the spear, the lance, and he's like, "Hey, Gunfall is apologizing. You don't need to take his life." And I'm like, "Oh yes, Luffy's correct." And I mean, I don't know how much injury she could have actually technically.
Well, I mean, if you use a lance and put it through someone's head, I'm pretty sure.
Armor? Oh, was it the head?
Yeah, he was. She was pointing it at his face. So I'm pretty sure she could have gotten at least something. But I really like that Luffy. When it comes down to it, Luffy can always I don't want to say simplify problems, but he can really get to the heart of it and say like, hey, it can be this simple. He's apologizing. No need to kill. Stop.
Man, that could be a whole different topic of like, if you apologize, can you be forgiven?
True.
But I think considering all the things I guess Gunfall has been trying to do.
Yeah, I think it depends.
That, right?
It depends on the sentiment and it depends on the reparations that you do to whoever you did wrong to, I think. Or I feel.
I wonder how much Luffy takes that into consideration whenever he's just like, he's apologizing, stop. But Luffy seems to have a pretty good intuition.
Yeah, yes. And Luffy never cares about the past, usually. Like,
if you're trying to change, right?
He always, like, he doesn't care about backstories. He just focuses on what the people are doing right now and how they're moving forward.
Yeah, it's true. And then, like, if, like, for example, they're trying to trick him, then he'll be like, oh, you were trying to trick me? You're a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then, like...
Make a choice.
So this drama is happening inside a snake.
Yes, right? It's drama.
I mean...
Snake drama.
Why not? Yeah, and then we actually see Robin, who's in Shandora, I believe.
Yeah,
looking for the bell. Because she's trying to still find the poneglyph. And, like, the message, like, that might be written. But while she's looking, Eneru actually... Or we see an apple being tossed or whatever. And then it's Eneru. And he's like, impressive. Well, I discovered this land, right? Because the Shandians haven't found it yet. Or like no one has found it.
No.
And then Eneru discovered it finally. So he was like, impressive. It took me a while, but you found it. It must be nice to know how to read the language. Although, I don't know. I guess that's how Robin found the land so quickly, right?
Yeah, she read and she figured it out.
Yeah. And Eneru is like, too bad the gold's not here. And then Robin's like, the gold. Well, what about the golden bell? Well, Eneru's like, what bell? And then Robin's like, okay, well, if he didn't see the bell, it means it probably wasn't here. But then Eneru's like, oh, no, actually, there's a tale that, 400 years ago when there was a huge resounding bell sound, right? And so he's like, you know what? It's probably here. And then I think that's when Robin, like, I think they both speculate it's probably at the top of Great Jack.
Yeah, the game is coming to its end. And Eneru feels someone.
So they're talking briefly about this golden bell because, Robin's trying to find it. And suddenly it looks like Eneru notices something. And he notices a worm or some bug or some, some kind of annoyance at the edge of the island. And then briefly, we see the scene with Konisu, where Gunfall's...
one of Gunfall's warriors, he makes it to the edge of the island, and he's like all hurt, about to die, but he wants to warn somebody about Eneru's plan to drop Skypiea from the sky. So he starts telling Connie's dad about it, and immediately then we see that the God's judgment is coming upon them.
Yeah. So he comes, he's like, this is when we discover they've been in the woods on the...
Verth.
Oh, Verth, yeah. So they're on that land building the Ark.
Oh, yes. He was using
yes.
Ganfall's old warriors to build the Ark.
Yeah, yes. Ark Maxim. His plan is destroy everything, but he has this Ark to go on to, like, go wherever. Like, back to, I think, the Blue Sea. Obviously, One Piece isn't associated with anything. Personally, I see like a hint of like religion here.
Yeah,
where it's like
definitely Noah's Ark.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Only that he's not taking anybody with him.
It's just purely the Ark. Yeah. And so, as you say, suddenly there's this blinding light, and then like Konis's father shoves Konis off.
Yeah,
and it was like at first for a quick second, I was just like, oh wait, no, why'd you shove her? And I was like, okay, because
you're gonna die.
So sad. I know. Episode 179, Collapsing Upper Ruins, the quintet for the finale. So we see Konis is alive, and she remembers her father, and she's like crying.
Yeah, she's crying, but she knows she has to act quick.
Yeah.
Have to leave.
Yes, because the old guard person is like, hey, warn people off out of Skypiea because Eneru's gonna destroy everything.
It's gonna fall down. Everything's gone.
Yeah. So
Jeez.
Yes. So he risked his life essentially to give the warning. And so obviously, and then Kunisu's father also got sucked into that. And so Kunisu goes and tries to warn everyone. I think Angel Town.
Yes.
Yeah. So Kunisu does that. She's alive, goes off to warn people. Then we go back to Zoro. So Zoro's beat Ohm finally.
Yes.
After that move.
And then he has to deal with Holly.
Yeah.
But
so
then
Holly,
that problem is solved super quickly.
Because Holly's like approaching Zoro, and then Zoro's like, "Oh no, wait!"
And then he stops.
And then Zoro's like, "What?"
Wait, because this dog obeys anyone, and then the doctor stops.
And then and then Zoro's really quick to pick up that Holly listens to and obeys any command. And then he actually is like, heal yourself and make yourself unconscious. So like Holly does that, and then so he knocks himself out. And then finally Zoro, all this time he's been trying, he finally heads over to a great snake. That Viper is still fighting.
Jesus, Viper.
I mean, it's a great snake.
What a way to not do anything.
It's a great snake, and the bazooka is not very effective, so it's hard.
Meanwhile, everybody's still inside the snake.
Yeah, everyone's like falling, and I think there's a scene where like Luffy's head is stuck, and he's like, "Help me!" But anyhow, they're still in the snake. And then Eneru, after he calls down the lightning, we see him, and he's like talking about how he wants to get the party started or whatever, the feast.
He drops down like the top level.
Oh yeah. So he's like, let's call everyone down to this, and so he breaks essentially the ground of Upper Yard.
Exactly.
And so everyone falls. So
he falls into like the city where Robin is.
Yeah. Oh, I think he says something like, "God is calling. Everyone gather."
Oh, wow.
I feel like... Yeah, and then he tells Robin, "I have invited your comrades," or like whoever, to Shandora. So everyone's falling.
Everyone's falling. Everything is falling.
Everything
Chopper
is
falling.
That
Zoro's
scene,
falling.
Okay.
I'm like, Chopper, no!
Wait, no. So, okay, Zoro sees Chopper falling, and he does the swimming to get it.
In the air.
Yeah. And then he fails the first time. And then he does it again because he failed that first time. And I'm just like, man, I love One Piece. Like, clearly this is a serious fight.
Yeah.
And we have these moments of just like ridiculousness. And just like...
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, also, Chopper is clearly like super beaten up, right? Out of it. And yet, it's not a funny thing. But Zoro's swimming in the air. Yeah. So I gotta love those silly moments.
But he does grab him. Luckily.
Yes, he does. And then while they're falling inside the snake, Nami's like, "Now's the opportunity, let's escape." And then
because the snake is falling, so they're like, they have like this anti-gravity moment where they're like, well, this is our chance.
And then Nami gets on the waiver. She's like, grab on, and
which was very stupid.
Well, Luffy underestimated.
Why would you grab on to the, like, that's like grabbing onto the motor of a boat. Like, you don't grab onto the motor.
I think he grabbed the jet stream or whatever comes out of the waiver, and then he misses, and then Aisa's with him. And
I think Aisa says that. Like, why would you?
On? But yeah, so in this moment where like everything's hectic, and then Nami's like she's on the waiver, and they're trying to get out. I mean, she gets out. And Gunfall gets out, but then they realize the others haven't gone out, and Pierre goes back in.
Gunfall realizes and orders Pierre to go back for Luffy and Aisa.
Yeah. So back in the Great Snake, they failed to escape, and then Aisa's like, "What? Why did you grab onto the jet stream?" But anyhow, of course, here we have Aisa with her like harsh kind of comments, and then Luffy's like, "Oh well, guess we had to go through the butthole again," or like that's where
he's
we
so
should
intent into going through the butthole, man. Jeez,
I don't know why he doesn't. Why doesn't he go out the other way, like the mouth? Because of teeth?
I don't know. I mean, it's Luffy. Honestly.
Anyway, Pierre comes in, flies in, saves them. That's actually also when I think Aisa is like, it's a horse? Is it a bird? And like, because, and then also Luffy shows off his stretching powers. I'm like, you didn't see him being a rubber man before this? But
Eneru gets annoyed by the snake. And he's like, okay, I'm tired of you. And he just fries the snake.
Yeah.
And I never found out what it was looking for. Because it's like,
it's
looking for something. Or do we see it later?
Yeah, so Yes, you did
Okay.
notice that, didn't you? You saw it like looking
Yeah,
around,
it was
right?
like looking
Didn't
around.
it also cry?
It was
wasn't
crying.
making sounds.
Yeah, it was sad.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you will find
And
out
Nami
later.
was-
There's a reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering because Nami noticed it too. She's like, "What is it looking for? Why is it so sad?"
And then I think it was making noises, and that's when and it was like, "That's annoying," and it shocked him.
Yes.
And then Zoro's like, "No, darn it! I haven't saved Nami yet."
Zoro. So Eneru makes a count again. There are 6 people left. So he tells them like, "Okay, you gotta get rid of one of you."
Yes.
Because only 5 will survive. And I think Nami's hiding with Chopper
Yep.
behind a wall. But, I mean, he can obviously sense her, so he knows that.
Yeah,
there's
actually,
6.
that reunion with like Zoro and Robin was kind of funny because so after they fell and they landed, Zoro's still alive, and he's like, "Oh, I'm still alive," and Robin's like, "Normal humans would have died." They all get reunited. Robin sees them, and so yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Nami and Choppa are like hiding, and then it's Viper, Gunfall, Zoro, and Robin.
Yeah. And they all then decide to go against Eneru instead of fighting each other, which is the smart thing to do, I feel.
Because he's like, and there's like, there's 6 people here. There has to be 5. That's the prediction. And then they're like, he's like, "Which one of you?" And then they say, "We'd rather take you out."
Exactly. I really like how Robin and Zoro have a very sassy relationship still. Like ever since she came on the crew, because Luffy's like, "Yeah, she's gonna be on the crew," and Zoro was like not having it from the start, and he's still like I feel like he accepts it, but he's still like very sassy. They're very sassy towards each other, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's fair for Zoro to be mistrusting, especially
I feel
after
so,
everything. And then I appreciate Robin's personality, the intellectual. Like she's just so dry. She's dry, right?
Yes.
But it's funny.
I feel she's mature.
Yeah.
Like I feel like she thinks things over, like before acting or talking. So
She does seem
she's always
mature.
like very
Calm and collected.
collected, exactly.
Maybe because she is calm and collected, whenever she says something, it comes out across like dry humor. She's like, for example, again, like most people would have died.
Yeah. Welcome back to One Piece at a Time. My name is Jocelyn, and this week my mission statement is going to be to better train my dog. I mean, we just met this dog, Holy, who can box, who obeys literally everyone. Well, I don't want her to do that, but I do want her to be able to protect me.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out how to make her box on 2 legs.
Yeah. Probably. I wonder how trained her.
He had to have some good treats.
Yeah. Very good training regimen. I'm MJ, and my mission statement is I'm going to reflect on what Nami said. It's the heart shrinks away from trying to coexist with others.
Yes, that is deep. I really like how she said it in the sub, because it really is all about the heart, right? Like if you connect, then if your heart expands, then you can just coexist.
The hard part, changing your heart.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I also want to mention that you can watch all of these episodes that we're talking about on Funimation.com/One Piece on the Funimation Now app. So check out our blog, funny.to/One Piece podcast for all the info on the binge routes, maps, character info, and everything you need to know. Moving on to episode 180, Showdown in the Ancient Ruins. Sky got Eneru's goal. And here's the first time that we see a little map of Skypiea, and I love maps.
Is it the first time?
Because I was wondering how the whole giant jack thing worked.
Well, I thought
we see it on the village and we see it in the city, but I didn't actually connect that it was just layers.
Was it the first time we saw that? Because didn't we see a schematic? Like,
if it wasn't the first time, it's definitely the first time I noticed.
Okay. Because they were trying to show the locations of all the Straw Hat members, right?
Yes, we did see like a map of the upper yard when they got lost. Okay. And we saw Zoro just like looping around in the north, and we saw Chopper going south. Yeah. So yeah, we see this map, and then we sort of see how one of the levels went down onto the city
and onto Shandora. Yeah.
So
the episode starts with, I think Goodest is still trying to head over, give warning to Angel Town, but while she's doing that, the 4 have decided to go against Eneru.
Yes.
And Eneru's like, haha, you think you can kill me?
Mortals.
I'm a god. Our self-proclaimed god.
Gunfall is the first one to go for it. He just like boom. And as he launches, he has a flashback of when Eneru took over as god, and we see him in like this temple with his robe and his very godlike.
Yeah, the stereotypical what you might think God. Like I've seen representations of God.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that very stereotypical old
Like,
white guy,
white bearded guy.
Mm-hmm. He definitely is holding a grudge against Eneru too because of what he did.
Is it a grudge? Or the main thing is that he wants to stop Eneru, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who kicked him off the throne, but the main thing is that he's making the people suffer.
Yes.
And then Gunfall doesn't want that.
No. Yeah, but Eneru is too powerful and he just literally fries him. So poor Ganfall.
There's a flashback, and of course, he's not strong enough.
He's not. Poor Ganfall. I mean, he tried at least. He's super brave. But yeah, Eneru just knocks him out cold. I'm not sure if he's dead, but he looks like he's dead.
Yeah, he's like burnt.
Yeah.
Just, right? He like strikes with a lightning.
He's like...
And then Gunfall is down, and then there's 4 left, and then I think he's like, I'll take you 4 to the dream world. I'll take you with me. My former like underlings weren't strong enough. They didn't make the cut. So I'm taking you.
So he basically, I guess, did all of this to pick out the 5 strongest people to come with him to Earth, to the Blue Sea. They mentioned that he has the power of a devil fruit.
Oh yeah. Oh,
what's the devil fruit?
Goro Goro no Mi. What kind of fruit?
Logia type.
Yeah,
devil
it is
fruit.
Logia fruit. Yeah. Fun fact: Goro Goro is like a Japanese onomatopoeia associated with like thunder.
Oh,
yeah, like rumbling thunder.
Nice.
Like so, it's rumble kind of. Yeah. I mean, did you doubt that he had a devil fruit? I think we all knew that he probably had a devil fruit.
And then Robin tries to do something smart, which is she tries to maybe buy some time by telling Eneru, like, probably won't leave yet because you haven't found the bell, right? You want to find it?
Yeah.
And Eneru's like,
I know where the bell is.
So then Eneru fries Robin too. She's burnt. And they look so awful after he burns them. They just like all ashy and
technically
whatnot.
no one should be alive.
Right? If you get like that fried by lightning.
I think you can survive, but I think usually you die.
Yeah, so Robin's out, Ganfall is out, and then it's Zoro's turn. He attacks, but he fails to. Eneru's too powerful.
And then Wiper's there, and then I think this is when he uses the reject dial. Right?
Yes, that's it. When he does,
he was like saving it for one more time.
And he uses it with the sea prism stone, and I think that's where the episode ends. Like, we don't know if it actually worked. For all you collectors out there, episode of Sabo is available now on Blu-ray and DVD, so you can now watch it dubbed for the first time. Adventure of Nebulandia is also up for pre-order. It'll be coming out June 18th, dubbed for the first time. These and all the episodes we talk about are available on home video at the Funimation shop on our website, so be sure to check those out and add One Piece to your shelf.
Episode 181, Ambition Toward the Endless Varth. So, reject dial. He essentially sacrifices himself, Wiper, to get him down. And then this is the scene where, like, okay, and then it goes down. And then it goes down. But he starts his own heart again.
He
I was like,
his own lightning.
That makes sense.
I know, right?
So he's, I think,
that's smart. How can you do that
heart
from the dead?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess there must have been he was
some
still
kind of
somewhat conscious left, and then he revives.
He revives. He restarts his own heart using his own lightning. At this point, I'm like, okay, this guy just can't die. Like, there is literally no way to kill this dude.
Yeah. And then Wiper's still standing, and then like, and there's impressed because the reject dial should have like really, I mean, Wiper should have been gone, but he's still alive, and then he's still struggling because for the sake of the ancestors and the 400 years of suffering. But then Eneru takes him out, and then it's only Nami. And then we have Nami, and
Nami's the sole survivor. Who would have thunk?
And then, of course, Nami's like, how do I survive? And then she's like, I'll follow you. I'll follow you. Yeah, exactly. Nope. I am your loyal follower. I will take you. Please take me with me.
Yeah.
Please take me with you.
Yes. She's clearly waiting for a chance to escape, but I mean, that's what Nami does. She just takes opportunities. And I mean, it's a smart thing to do, honestly.
Use your brains.
Yeah, use your brain. And you have less power than all of these people who just went down trying to take Eneru down.
Yep.
So Nami goes with Eneru to the Ark Maxim.
Yep.
And then we see it finally.
Yeah, it's like in that hole in the, what is it, the cliff, the mountain, the side, the earth. I can't figure out my words.
On the side of the earth.
No, that's not right. Anyhow, so they go to Maxim. Oh.
And it's this big arc, which is
huge.
Like, wow, you made this whole big ass boat.
All the gold.
With all the gold just for you and 5 people. That ended up being you and Nami.
But it's like a flying ship. Mm-hmm. And it like uses, I think, his electricity.
Yes, it uses his electricity to power up. Sky technology.
It uses his powers.
So yeah, he doesn't need wind or anything. It's just lightning powered. And eco-friendly.
The material wasn't made of gold.
Because the gold conducts
electricity. Yep. And then so that's happening, and then Nami's like, "Oh no, there's this huge ship," and then the giant snake. We go back to Great Snake.
Yes.
And then he. Do you remember this? How the Great Snake, his eyes open.
Oh yes. And Luffy's inside the eye.
I didn't remember this part, so when I saw it again, I was like, I laughed because like the eyes open, and then you zoom in, and it's Luffy lifting up the eyelid. Yeah. And I'm like, Luffy, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I mean, and then like the eye is tearing, and he like Luffy's like, oh, gotta escape, and he like leaves the eye, and then eventually they come out of his mouth. Yeah. And then all of them are like, they were finally here. Where's the golden bell? Right? Because they've been looking for the bell and Shandora.
And then
Luffy's also like, oh, Zoro, what happened? Whereas everyone like
why
knocked
is everyone
out.
Dead?
Yeah.
And Robin is alive, or she's like struggling. And she's like, Luffy. And she tells him about Eneru's plan to destroy everything. Luffy's just like, he's focused on trying to get to Eneru.
He finally escaped the cave.
Yeah, he finally escaped the cave. Jeez, how long was he in there? Legit for like, I feel like 5 or 6 episodes.
Well, he definitely,
because since last episode, right? Last podcast episode, he was in there.
At least 5 or 6, because he was in, for all of this podcast episode thus far, he's been in this
exactly.
So.
And we've gone through 4, 5, 6, so at least 7 episodes. That's crazy, Luffy.
Yeah, but anyhow, he gets the rundown, everything that's been happening. And then
yes,
it's like, I know where they are, I can feel where they are. And then so the episode ends with them heading over to defeat Eneru.
What is gonna happen? And now we have our social question of the week.
Oh yeah.
And we asked our fans on the One Piece anime Facebook and Twitter, what did you first think was going to happen when Luffy and Eneru finally met? And we got some pretty interesting answers. Robert from Facebook says, I knew from the moment I learned Eneru had electricity powers that they'd have no effect on Luffy. Although I was still excited when the battle began because I knew Oda would make it the most epic and evenly matched battle so far as they are opposites. That's an interesting take. I didn't actually think about that up until the moment that it happened.
I mean,
I was super blindsided by it, and then I felt so silly because I was like, it's super obvious, Jocelyn.
So, okay, quite honestly, I'm pretty sure that was me too when I first watched it. So I looked at a lot of these comments, and a lot of people were like, whoa, he's rubber. And
was I the only person?
No, me too. I'm pretty sure when I was watching this, like when you think of it, you're like, oh, makes sense. But I wasn't thinking super ahead. I was just like, oh no, what's gonna happen? And then we saw the episode.
Yeah, that's how it was with me too. I feel like all through these episodes, I had been wondering, like, how are we going to defeat this guy? How are we going to defeat this guy? And
it was
then it was
building up to that point. And so it's like, oh no, okay, Luffy has to get, like, it was a lot, you know? Luffy getting swallowed by a snake, all the different ordeals. Yeah. All these things happen. And I'm just like, finally, Luffy, like, I was curious. I'm like, oh, how's Luffy going to defeat Eneru? But should have known better. So Zach Punter, I think on Twitter, is I didn't know what to think. I didn't expect the whole electricity doesn't affect rubber thing, or Eneru using his power to heat up his spear, which we'll talk about soon. But I loved that fight. A little dragged out, but still a good fight. I think it was a good fight.
It was a good fight.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
was
the start of it that we get to see at least.
Yes, I'm excited to see what you think of the total fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Linnea Kemsley says, I started dancing around the room and laughing. Oh my gosh, he's made of rubber. And my spouse was very confused. I feel like that's how I reacted. Like, I was like, of course.
I don't remember what I was doing when I watched it.
And then I'm going to go with this last one that I really like. It says, unfortunately, this was one of the many things spoiled for me. Young me had no self-control, and I would stupidly go to characters' wiki pages. That's Steven Eitzer who said that. Well, Steven, okay. Don't do that. Don't spoil it for yourself, man.
I can understand the curiosity, though. You just want to know. I mean, I still enjoy rewatching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yes, I do.
Cool. So thank you, everybody who answered our questions. They were all great, all of your answers. Be sure to check out next week our podcast question and put in your comments, and you might be featured in the next episode. Episode 182. They finally clash. Pirate Luffy versus God Eneru.
God Eneru.
Finally.
Yes. So the beginning, again, starts with Goodest heading to the Angel Town.
She's taking forever, geez.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's a lot of switching back and forth. But she gets there, and then the white berets
the white berets. They're there. And suddenly Goodest is a badass now.
Yeah.
Like she's skipping the arrows with her waver, and they're shooting at her.
And then the waver lands on the captain.
And the waver lands on the captain. And I'm like, whoa, Goodest. We went from, she speaks polite, like this, super polite, super worried, and then she's got this cannon and she fires the cannon at them.
As a warning because they didn't believe her. Yeah. Because she's someone who went against God.
Exactly.
The God.
So she tries to prove a point that he doesn't care anymore because he's planning to destroy everything. So she shoots the cannon and nothing happens.
I think she does the demonstration, right? She talks badly.
Oh, right.
And then there's nothing that happens. And then she describes things that happened, like the survivor who came and found her and her father. And then also talks about how Eneru isn't there to protect you. Like you have to protect yourself. And she had this whole speech of you can't protect your own life by blaming someone later. And surprisingly, all of this speech moves people. I don't know. I don't know how much convincing I would have needed, but she
right. If somebody's telling you that,
yeah, maybe when she didn't get struck down, that might have been a big thing. But
I think I'm not sure if it's the captain recognizes.
Oh yeah,
the warrior story.
Yeah. So the captain, I think, was a former men of Gunfall. I think so. Because I think he mentioned that they joined Eneru's men because they thought it was the best way to protect the Skypieans and the people. Yeah. But then I think he recognized the truth, and so all of them was oh, I think Goodest is right. Yeah. And then they start freaking out actually, trying to escape. Yeah. And because if Eneru is the enemy, that's a very powerful enemy to be against.
Definitely. And he also makes the story of Eneru's home island and how it was destroyed basically because Eneru was so power hungry.
Yeah, I think Birka or something, and then he headed over here. And
So he knew that then probably this was the same thing that was going to be happening to them.
Then he steps in, he's like, I'll take care of this. Or I'll help evacuate the people. And then Goodest is like, I'll leave it to you, and then I have to head over back. And so she heads back. Yes. Because she was she was supposed to be protecting the Mary.
Yes. Yeah. And Usopp and Sanji who are still not out.
I mean, Sue is still there.
Yeah. Oh, Sue. Sue's so cute.
Yeah. He is.
He's just like a pew mew voice. Then we go back to Luffy and Isa, and they're
Luffy's running super fast.
Yes, and Isa's on Pierre trying to guide them to where he is. And Luffy's super fast.
Yeah, he's just running, and then when Isa is like, "Oh, it's to the left," in order to turn, he runs on the wall. Yeah,
which is crazy.
He's going really fast.
Yeah,
and then so they turn sharply, and then they eventually make it. And then I was like, I knew it. Someone survived.
Yes. And he's wondering, I think Eneru's like, where were you?
Actually, I think a little earlier in the episode, he did mention how he uses his powers. It's kind of relevant because, like, so he has mantra, but then he also uses, I think, radio waves to hear people.
Oh,
I wrote that down in my notes. Like, I hear conversations by using lightning power to read radio waves.
That makes sense. I guess.
Or like, I didn't really dissect it, but I was like, oh, okay. So
you were like, yes, that is how radio waves work.
Well, I don't know if it's radio waves per se, but like maybe it's something to do with like sound waves,
maybe,
and then like conversations and mantra and all the like the combination of his mantra and also his devil fruit powers helps him become a powerful godlike figure. So he detects Luffy. How did he survive? It's because Luffy wasn't that giant snake.
Yes. Luffy finally gets there and he's like, hey, are you the one who they call Eneru? Luffy's always so inappropriate. Well, I guess he lost the element of surprise there.
It's not what he was going for anyway.
And then Eneru has his first try at Luffy.
Yep.
And fries him like he's been frying everybody else. Yeah. And we're all like, oh no, Luffy, now what? But then nothing happened.
It was so funny because he threw this strike at him. And at first he misses. And then I love Luffy's face when when it first missed. He has like the like circles on his cheeks. He's like, what just happened? And then it's like, oh, I just missed. I won't miss next time. And he throws like a stronger one. And then a stronger one. And it was just like shocked. His face. Iconic face, like
his eyes.
Yeah, he's just like he can't believe it. His eyes are bulging. He's like mouth, and I'm like, because he's been so powerful, it must have been a shock to see that had no effect. Absolutely no effect.
And then he's like, of course.
Yeah.
Rubber doesn't conduct electricity. And I'm like, where did all of my science classes go? Because I didn't see this coming.
In a way, I was like, this is so interesting because is Luffy all too powerful now? Like, is it just going to easily, right?
Is Luffy God now?
Like, I guess that logic of like there being God, if you defeat God, you become God, then yes. But in a way, I was like, is this going to be too easy now?
Right.
Yeah. Episode 183, Maxim surfaces. Skypiea is activated.
Skypiea? How serious?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a play on Skypiea. So, Nami, I think Nami pointed this out.
Yes.
Great point. Rubber doesn't exist in the sky world.
That's true.
Because you need the rubber trees. And then so
Eneru probably doesn't even realize what's happening.
Of course, this answers my question. Is Luffy's just all too powerful now against Eneru? But Eneru can still like use his mantra and kind of read his moves.
Yes.
And he's pretty quick. He's like backup plan. Like, okay, he's like, I can't use my lightning, but let me try these. And then he like goes into the gold and then like moves through the gold.
Right, because he can turn into just
and then
plain lightning.
Yeah, and then he's like, so if electricity doesn't work, does slashing work? And then he tries it and it works.
Yes.
And actually, Luffy's like, this when Eneru is asking, does slashing work? And tries it out, Luffy's like, yeah, it works against me. And then Nami's like, you're just like revealing your weakness. Yeah.
Luffy always just tells the truth.
Yeah.
He just, I'll just give you this information.
Yep. So while they're fighting, I think Eneru starts the ship, right? And then, or the ship starts moving. Nami's like freaking out. It's like, oh no, it's moving. All of this is happening.
Yeah, he turns it on.
Yeah, and then so Maxim rises, right? It starts moving, like leaving the cave mountain area, the earth.
The side of the earth.
That it was in. And then I think things are shaking, and then people are like trying to escape back in Angel Town.
And then also Eneru does this thing where he turns his electricity into heat, sort of converts it into electric heat. I think that affects Luffy.
Yeah, while he was also testing the slashing, right?
Yeah. Which is pretty smart. Like, he didn't just like, oh, I guess he's immune.
Yeah.
I am lost.
I mean, because he's powerful.
Yeah. He's also smart.
You have to be to a certain degree, I think, to get to this point.
And then Luffy gives Nami his hat, which that's how you know. He's like, hold this for my place. That's how you know Luffy's about to get serious too.
That kind of reminds me of Arlong.
The Arlong scene, yeah.
When he left the hat with Nami.
I feel like she's the only person so far that he's
Well, I don't remember Zoro wearing
the hat.
I don't remember Sanji wearing the hat.
No.
I can't remember Usopp wearing it.
No.
There might have been someone holding it. Like someone gave it to him, like being like, Luffy, here's your hat.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember seeing anyone wearing it.
Yeah.
Other than Nami.
him giving him like, here's my hat, hold this. I mean, I guess Nami's one of the OG, right? After Zoro,
yeah,
he gets Nami.
So. And then I think it was Usopp. So we have Deathpea activated, and we're like, "What is Deathpea?"
What is Deathpea?
Yeah. So it seems that it's the ultimate thing where there's a lot of black smoke coming out of Maxim, and so Deathpea is, if he powers it up, it just strikes like lightning,
Constant lightning,
like a lot of lightning, and destroys a certain place.
Okay.
Like wherever.
So this black smoke is where the lightning is coming from.
Well, it's a cloud. He's creating a cloud in the sky. It's basically a thundercloud. Like a huge and massive.
Well, I know what those look like.
Really?
In Texas.
Oh, yeah. I'm not from Texas, but the land is pretty flat, so you can see pretty far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how far you can see.
Yeah, and you see like the lightning strikes.
That's true. Yeah. I like
very
seeing
big.
From a distance, the lightning.
Yes, definitely from a distance.
Yeah, so he gives a demonstration where he like sends a signal.
Yes.
And then it's like the massive thundercloud strikes at Angel Town. He's like, ha ha ha, look, this is what
I can do. And he starts just destroying everything.
Yeah. And then Luffy's like if you're God, you think you can do whatever you want with like all these living people. And then Eneru's like, yes.
Yes, that's exactly what I think.
Yeah.
That's awful though. I mean, why does it have to be that way? You know, if you're all powerful, does that mean you can just have your every little petty wish come true? Or
with power, you have the sense of control, right?
True.
Or like ants. When you see ants, I feel like they're so tiny.
Yeah,
you can crush them.
You can crush.
Like, and when I see ants, I'm mindful of like how much power I have over them. I wonder, like, so I'm just trying to think of that.
Yeah.
Like, Eneru that's probably the sense of power and control Eneru feels.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, I can just crush them.
Whether you do it or not is probably connected to whatever you value.
Exactly. What you are as a person.
Then it's like a question of what does Eneru value? He just wants to get back. I wonder how that connects together. Like he's so powerful. He's like, I deserve to be God.
Yes,
Maybe.
that's exactly what I feel his prerogative has been so far. And then Luffy figures out that he can't think because he thinks...
Eneru uses mantra. And then so he tries out, what's it called? Gum Gum Airhead or something?
Yes.
And he totally wipes his mind clear of thinking. His face when that he does. I was like, that's like Zen in a way, right?
Yeah.
It's very and so he but then he just so he instinctively avoids these attacks, but he's just like floating around, and then he quickly realizes if he's not thinking of attacking either, right? Because he's just all I'm doing is avoiding.
Yeah.
And then he tries Gum Gum Octopus. So he I think he blows himself up, really stretches himself, and then he creates his arms and legs are really long.
Yeah.
And then he binds himself around was it the mast?
I think so. Because then he just starts...
Oh, no. What he does is... It wasn't he wrapped himself, but he uses his long limbs.
Like his punches.
Yeah.
And then since he's not thinking about where the punches are going to land...
Yeah, they ricochet back from the wall, and they land at random against Eneru.
Yes.
Yeah, that was actually pretty clever.
It is.
Yeah.
Pretty clever, especially for Luffy.
I mean,
no, Luffy has his moments.
Yes, he did. It's a different kind of smarts.
Yes, definitely. Yes, and that's where the episode
yes,
ends.
because it's actually effective, and Eneru is getting beaten up, and then while he's being beaten up, Luffy tries to go heading towards him with a bigger attack.
Yes,
and then he was like, oh no, I need to avoid it.
To be continued.
Yes.
No, I hate when that ends comes up, and I'm like, no, especially when it's the end of a podcast episode, and I can't continue watching, and I'm like, ugh. So I can't wait to go home today.
So I remember what happens next.
No,
I
you
haven't
can't tell
rewatched
me.
it. Yeah, no, I haven't rewatched it yet. But what do you
remember.
think will happen?
I haven't. Okay, so all I want to say is that I know it's probably not going to be easy because I mean they just started fighting, and this is like the boss fight. So I know it has to stretch
For Skypiea.
a little bit. For a little bit at least. And so it's not going to be easy. And honestly, after Crocodile, who had like plans A through W, like Eneru has to step up, honestly. So I know it's going to be like a hard fight. And I'm excited because Luffy finally has, at least we think, figured out a way to beat Eneru. So we'll see where the fight goes.
We shall see. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope you enjoyed this One Piece at a Time episode. Don't forget to check out the Funimation blog at funny.to/One Piece podcast, which is updated constantly. We put up different files, images, videos, which it includes the binge routes and everything you need to know. Also, head to our shop at funimation.com/shop and add One Piece home video to your collection.
And for all things One Piece, follow us on Facebook at One Piece Official and Twitter at One Piece Anime. And we wanted to thank all the people who make this podcast happen: the creator of One Piece, Oda Sensei, Toei Animation, our fabulous audio engineers, and of course, everyone joining us on this journey, all you Straw Hats out there. So please rate this podcast wherever you're listening to, give us a nice review, and share it with other One Piece Nakamas.
Nakama.
Yes. The next One Piece at a Time will cover anime episodes 176 to 183. So be sure to watch on Funimation now, subbed or dubbed, and be ready. See ya.
See you.